Estás soñando, Nora. Despertate. Esa es la parte en la que el diablo te come con pan y manteca. Dale, apúrate, Nora, que te va a comer. Estás soñando, Nora. Despertate. Esa es la parte en la que el diablo te come con pan y manteca. Dale, apúrate, Nora, que te va a comer. Estás soñando, Nora. Despertate. Esa es la parte en la que el diablo te come con pan y manteca. Dale, apúrate, Nora, que te va a comer. ¿Por qué soñas en inglés, Nora? Why don't you ever dream in Spanish anymore?
That was the prologue to this story. Now, before we begin, on the topic of the Iguazu Falls, from the Encyclopedia Britannica, Iguazu.
Also spelled Iguazu.
In Spanish, Cataratas del Iguazú.
In Portuguese, Cataratas do Iguaçu ou Saltos do Iguaçu.
A series of cataracts on the Iguazu River, 14 miles
23 kilometers
above its confluence with the Alto
upper.
Paraná River. At the Argentina-Brazil border, the falls resemble an elongated horseshoe that extends for 1.7 miles.
2.7 kilometers.
Nearly 3 times wider than Niagara Falls in North America, and significantly greater than the width of Victoria Falls in Africa. Numerous rocky and wooded islands on the edge of the escarpment, over which the Iguazu River plunges, divide the falls into some 275 separate waterfalls or cataracts, varying between 200 and 269 feet in height.
60 and 82 meters.
The name of the falls, like that of the river, is derived from a Guarani word.
An indigenous language of South America that belongs to the Tupi-Guarani family. It is the national language of Paraguay, being one of the few Indian languages that does not seem to yield under the influence of Spanish or Portuguese.
The name, then, comes from a Guarani word meaning great water.
Let the first act begin.
And whatever you do during your visit, do not trust the Coatis.
It can get loud at this time of the year. Urapu, Guarani for water noise. You could say I did it to myself. She likes it soft so she doesn't wake herself up, but I need the water, so I try to find the balance. Once upon a time, there was a quiet river. It was the realm of the calm. Men fishing off the riverbank. And women washing their clothes with the babies strapped to their backs. If a kid got loose and dropped into the water, it was an easy recovery. birds could hover over the water without being sucked into it forever. They could fish too.
How? What in the world? You could have told me.
I could have, and I should have. Shouldn't I, for a change?
Can you at least turn the water down now? Some never change.
I was trying to keep it nice and steamy here. You know how I like Maggie. Otherwise, my skills get dry.
Oh, could have told me. Besides, you're going to kill the tourists.
Screw the tourist.
Screw the hen that feeds you. The legend says that once upon a time there was a quiet river, the realm of the calm. Men fishing off the riverbanks, women washing their clothes with their babies strapped to their backs. If a kid got loose and dropped into the water, it was an easy recovery. Birds could just hover over the water without being sucked into it forever. Había una vez un río muy tranquilo donde renaba la calma. Los hombres pescaban desde la orilla. Las mujeres lavaban la ropa con los bebés atados a sus espaldas. Si un nene se soltaba y se le caía el agua, era fácil recuperarlo. Los pájaros planeaban sobre el agua sin que ésta se los chupara para siempre. Había una vez un río muy tranquilo donde renaba la calma. Las mujeres lavaban la ropa con los nenes amarrados las cosas.
That's enough. Everyone gets a point. I have to put the wall down again. Though, this time, you're forewarned. I need the humidity, and the wall helps keep, the sound down. Otherwise, she wakes up startled, day in and day out. How many months has it been? She's troubled and depressed.
I know. It's so sad.
This is a sad story. Tell them so they are forewarned. This is a sad story. Some say it's grotesque. And the humidity can always bring us some rainbow action. You want to see Toroba?
That's a myth, and you know it. Humidity levels have nothing to do with the formation of a rainbow.
They don't.
Boy, come on!
I know. It's all an illusion anyway.
A mirage. Un espejismo. Do you think she knows why she's having these dreams?
She may think it's because of the dream she had when she was 6. It's hard to tell. We don't know how much of this she'll even remember, but in the meantime, she'll do whatever it takes to change the reality around her. ¿Qué te pasa, Nabi?
Call me Nora. You actually have changed.
Of course, it's been ages. You changed too. You're supposed to have turned into a rock, and yet you keep morphing back to the beautiful you. Look at what we are doing. It's all an exercise. We are not even speaking our own language on account of her issues.
Our languages, none of them. I don't even remember them anymore. Sometimes I feel like I'm only speaking them phonetically. I know what I'm saying.
It's all an art, but a lovely one. This is our big chance to show everyone there is no performance without an audience. Like there is no rainbow without someone observing it.
From the beginning, then.
It depends.
On what I think the beginning is. You always say that. You decide.
I always do.
Well, come on. Whatever you want.
Let's start with Nora and Thomas.
I'll tell them to get ready in case we get a rainbow. Taroba!
This is a sad story. The story of a half-orphan young woman who...
3/4. We said 3/4 orphan because her mom is dead, but her dad's not around, remember?
This is a sad story of a 3/4 orphan whose boyfriend, whose fiancé, This is a sad story.
Thomas. Amor, wake up. You are awake. I had a dream.
What?
What?
What kind of a dream?
Do you remember that diabolical dream I told you about? The one about the devil's throat?
Yeah.
The devil wanted to eat me with bread and butter. I was 6 when I had it, and I kept having that dream for years.
Yeah.
Please get up. I can't hear you.
Yes, I remember. The Iguazu one.
You actually remember?
Yeah.
So it keeps coming back, but it gets weirder and weirder because now there are these characters who talk about some stuff that I don't even know. Some ancient stuff somehow related to us, to you and to me.
Okay.
Okay, there are all these things I don't understand. There's this old god who makes me think of my dad. I keep writing it all down, but I don't know what anything means.
Okay.
Don't you think it's weird?
I'm just trying to follow. Dreams are weird, and you are always having
No,
dreams.
but this is different. This is starting to come back after almost 30 years. 27, 28 years, Thomas. I was 6 when I first went.
Well, maybe it's because we're about to go back. We need to finish packing.
Of course, it's because we're about to go back, but it's still weird.
When did they start to come back?
Well, I guess when you and I started to have those ridiculous fights. What in the world?
Another one?
Guess you left already. When you were never here. When I dream of you, do you know what happened to you? You don't seem to. Maybe when you finally realize. Do you remember finding dead birds before our trip? Repeatedly. We talked about it the day we found that box in the lookout. It was so, how do you say it again?
Ominous? It was the day before I proposed. The first time we visited the Devil's Throat together.
Isn't this place crazy? Is this what you had imagined?
I mean, it's hard to separate what I imagined on my own from all the pictures I saw and the stories you told me. Where's that picture from your first visit? Oh. Huh. Which one's cuter? Oh, what a place! To quote Eleanor Roosevelt when she saw it herself, poor Niagara. The great waters are furious.
Endless crashing of water over rock. The mega earthquake created the valley, and then the rivers, rather than smoothing it out, just deepened the abyss.
Holy cow, the rainbow!
Wow.
It makes everything look new.
Pristine. Like these waters just got here. And yet in human time they've been here forever. I guess this light just makes you forget about time.
Well, it is the light. If you travel at the speed of light, then time gets left behind. What is that?
What's what?
That box, look.
Oh no.
So strange.
What is it?
Ashes, obviously.
Oh, God, Thomas, that's awful.
Life can be awful. Life and death.
That's like, how do you call it? De mal agüero. Like when something brings bad vibes, bad luck.
Ominous.
Right. Ominoso.
Is that how you would say it? Ominoso?
It's an odd word. It's not very common. What we would say instead is de mal agüero, like in the phrase como pájaro de mal agüero, like a bird of bad omen.
Pájaro de mal agüero.
Like those birds we found.
No, it's only ominous if you let it. I think it's funny.
Funny.
Yeah, like in a Big Lebowski kind of way. Do you remember when Walter is scattering Donnie's ashes?
Wasn't it the dude though?
No, the dude is the one who got covered in ashes. Walter opens the coffee can with the ashes, and when he tries to let them go, the wind blew them the wrong way.
Do you think they just got nervous and dropped it?
Maybe. Must have sucked. Who knows how far they traveled just to drop the ashes of their loved one like that?
Right on the edge of the cliff. I mean, if it had just landed a little closer to the edge, it could have rolled down the hill. That's awful.
We
Show
are
me.
so mean. Just a teensy bit.
Teensy.
Teensy bit.
Teensy, that's so sweet. What does it mean?
Like, I guess baby talk for tiny, like tiny bit.
Like a teeny tiny bit? A teensy teeny tiny bit? That is sweet.
You are silly. Do you think they laughed?
Who?
The people who dropped it. I mean, you have to laugh.
Well, I guess. And tragedy can also be absurd and ridiculous and embarrassing. Maybe funny, right?
I guess.
What is it? Why are you getting so serious?
Just thinking, what if it was a couple who lost their child, their daughter, their son?
Get all grim on me. That's the wrong order of things. It has to have been the kids bringing the parents' ashes. Come on, let's go.
Había una vez un hombre que se llama Thomas.
We got it. Just give us a second. Can you stick to English for Thomas's sake?
Once upon a time, there was a man named Thomas. You can't be taking this long.
Oh, it won't be like this. Just take it easy. You better give us any heads up. We're almost there.
Once upon a time, there was a man named Thomas. He was in love with Nora, the woman of his dreams. She was a 3/4 orphan South American transplant living in the US. They planned to get married. She was like a princess, with eyes like sapphires and mouth like the most exquisite coral, and heart made out of gold.
We agreed on cutting those lines out. I mean, they don't do justice to Nora or to Thomas for that matter. I mean, they're real people. Come on, man, I don't even have blue eyes. We talked about this.
Whatever the kids want, from the top. Once upon a time, there was a man named Thomas. A very real man. He was in love with Nora, the woman of his dreams. And she was a smart and dedicated student at the university who knew exactly what she wanted, and she was ready to take on the world. he was willing to take on the world with her and follow her wherever she went, even though he had a tenure-track position at the university and she didn't have one yet.
We don't think you're taking this very seriously. Okay, we sit down for long writing sessions, we talk everything through, and then you do this? What's wrong?
You're right. Maybe I just don't understand the world you guys live in. Watch your back, Thomas.
Huh?
Right behind. There is a quad T. It's gonna climb to you. Take your crowns.
How did he know that? Look, why do we need him anyway?
He reminds me of someone I know.
Who? The devil?
Can we not talk about that now? The double rainbow will be here soon, and we still have so much work to do.
Well, I have mixed feelings about him. I don't know why, but I don't see why he needs to be part of this story.
We just focus on our work.
The other morning, I woke up with an eerie feeling. I feel like he summons us while we are sleeping.
That's impossible.
How can you be so sure?
Because he's hundreds of thousands of years old.
What does that got to do with anything?
He's old and weak. Look at what he needs to do. He's got to resort to this. It's too hot in here, by the way.
Doesn't he need it to be hot?
Yeah, but I need the noise now. I want to wake up.
Huh?
Sometimes you don't know, do you?
What do you mean? I'm confused. I think he is in love with you.
Love? Yuck. No, that cannot be. That would be wrong.
Well, some things don't change, Magpie. Boy doesn't care about Nora and Thomas. He's just going along with that part of the story because you ask. What he wants is for us to reenact the other story. That's what he cares about. Now, if he can put on a big show for the double rainbow, that's extra. He gets to make you extra happy.
Call me 9P. I know. That was never love. It was just an obsession. A power trip.
Nora, Magpie, does it really matter to know who you are at all times? I mean, what's in a name, anyway?
I don't know.
And you said we should get back to work. I have an idea.
Yeah, but I'd rather wake up.
Huh?
Never mind. What's your idea?
Look,
You want to do that scene again?
maybe.
I have a better idea. Come on. Remember how that day we were wondering who could have dropped the box, and we said maybe it was parents bringing their dead son's ashes.
Son or daughter. Yeah, that was my idea.
Sorry, I forgot my hat.
What? This reminds me of something. Oh, now you totally look like an old lady in the morning. Really? I thought you wanted to do this.
Sorry. There's no solemnity in stupidity, no glamour.
But those two things are one and the same. You always said that tragedy can also be absurd and ridiculous and embarrassing. I thought you actually wanted to do this, Nora.
Call me 9P. I know. Do you think this is why I keep having these dreams? Do you think this stupid mystery box is what gave you the idea?
What idea?
You still don't know, do you?
I think we're about to see a double rainbow. Once upon a time.
There was a quiet river, the realm of the calm. Men fishing off the riverbank, women washing their clothes with their babies strapped to their backs. If a kid got loose and dropped into the water, it was an easy recovery. Birds could hover over the water without being sucked into it forever.
But every year, in this seemingly quiet and peaceful village by the river, a maiden had to be sacrificed to Mboy, the serpent parrot. For this sacrifice, the elders of the village invited other tribes. Some of these tribes came from far, far away. It didn't matter how far they needed to travel, the ceremony was worth it.
Rainbow, again!
So, this one year, the maiden they picked was called Naipi. She was beautiful. Mouth like the most exquisite coral, a heart made out of gold, a pair of eyes like... I can't remember the name of the black stone.
Asabache. Freaking jet stone. Jet isn't as pretty as Asabache. Can't you remember this one simple word? I switched my entire life to English because of you, even my dreams, to this fucking day. And you can't remember this one simple word? Asabache. Repeat after me.
Asabache! 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 Asabache!
Remember when you gave me the ring? It was our second day at Iguazu. And we woke up early and strolled down to a cafe for cappuccinos with pastries. We got to the falls before the masses of tourists arrived. We came to a quiet bend, and we stayed there, looking at the water and talking. Couldn't believe how calm it was. Sorry, I had to put the pen down for a second. I just got a package from my dad. Yeah, my dad. We've been in touch this whole time since your departure. I haven't written about that quite yet. But maybe if you're patient and stick around, I'll tell you more. It's a book about the formation of a regional and national identity in the Brazilian state of Paraná, where the falls are. That's odd. Well, we had heard about the legend of Naipi and Tarobá
And the times when things were calm. What were those pastries called?
Farturas.
Farturas.
I love this body of water. A calm and bright mirror in which to see the world reflected.
Unlike the tumultuous, devilish waters of the throat.
Right. An overpowering curtain of water like cataracts that affect the eyes and blur old people's vision.
Doesn't this look like what the tour guide was describing?
The pre-creation times?
Oh.
Why is it that every culture all over the world has these pre-chaos myths?
We are the result of chaos.
Everything was a calm until a cataclysm supervened. Often featuring a conflict over a lady.
And there's always some kind of snake involved.
Or a conflict over that which a lady desires.
And an eternal fall.
Or some lady turning into stone. You know, it wasn't that long ago, though.
No, 200,000 years isn't a lot at all.
Well, it depends.
On what I think the beginning is.
You could argue that it all started with the lower part of Pangaea splitting up and creating South America and Africa.
That would be 140 million years ago, to be precise.
With the eruptions going on for another 10 million years and creating a massive basaltic plateau, layer after layer.
With its matching landmass across the ocean in Africa.
And then, yesterday, 200,000 years ago, another eruption created this U-shaped fault, which the rivers then flooded. Are we to believe that no one was here to witness the event? I mean, it's hard to imagine a cataclysm if no one was here to witness it.
Well, leave that to the philosophers. We are scientists.
Sometimes I feel limited by science. The legend actually explains what happened.
A parrot-headed snake, contorting its body and breaking a fault to provoke a waterfall where two lovers were to fall eternally. Is that what happened?
More or less. A devil-like snake and eruption, it's the same in a way.
What about the lovers? Did that happen too?
I heard the story of a couple who jumped into the abyss together.
Oh, were they running away from a snake too? That story has nothing to do with anything.
Doesn't it?
Leave all that to the philosophers, or the urban legendists.
But why would the indigenous people explain the creation of the falls that with this cataclysmic intervention, if not because they actually witnessed it?
Well, I doubt that humans were here that long ago. We don't know.
Precisely, we don't know. But why not acknowledge that if there's a legend about a devil-like snake breaking the river down in half, maybe it's because people actually witnessed it.
You mean like with all the flood myths?
Yes.
Like Noah's Ark.
And countless others all over the world corresponding with the actual floods caused by the ending of the Ice Age.
Well, again, we are scientists. Leave that to the mythologists.
Why not just imagine? We know by now that human presence in the Americas goes way back, much further back than we've been led to believe. This is not just any other place on Earth, and those eruptions could have been the single largest volcanic event in Earth's history. And the craziest part of all is that it all could have been caused by a hotspot.
The continental drift.
Yes!
Again, isn't that just one of the theories? Some think a hotspot wouldn't be powerful enough to create such a huge split.
Just imagine a hotspot like a hot-headed and furious devil-like snake living in the underworld.
Now you really are going down the devil's hole. What did they put in those cappuccinos, huh? Look, a dinosaur!
Wait a minute. You said you were bringing me here for something.
Oh, be careful not to look into the water or some creature down there may see you and fall in love with you.
Fall in love. I'll never get over how you fall in love in English.
You just be careful.
The only thing I fear are the coatis. Did you see how viciously they attacked those tourists? I mean, they took all of their food.
There are plenty of other creatures to be feared. And what was his name after all? The drunken parrot snake god?
You keep digressing, Professor. You said you were bringing me here for something.
Professor, I am your humble student. But, speaking of falling in love, I have something for you.
What? And on the second anniversary of our first encounter?
Nora?
Really, like in the Hollywood movies?
I told you. Stick with the gringo and your life will turn into a big show.
But they wouldn't say that in the movie, so you just stick to the script.
Ever since the rainbow came and lit the cherry blossoms above us on that campus path, I knew this day would come. I cannot imagine a life worth living without you.
It's dramatic.
Nora Elena Ugaran, would you marry me?
Sarache. Of course, I would. I will.
Azabache?
Azabache. That's the Spanish name. Where did you find it? It's beautiful.
Azabache.
Azabache, no Z sound.
Oh. Well, I always knew it only as jetstone. I got it from one of the artisans in the town.
How appropriate.
High pressure decomposed wood.
Or a rock born from a tree. Do you think this came from Europe? Doesn't it date back to the Jurassic?
My guess is it came from much closer. It's fossilized wood from an araucaria, but it all comes down to the same. Pangea, you know.
You're such a nerd.
Oh, look who's talking.
Selfie.
Selfie!
Wait, shit! I forgot my hat. I must have left it in the other cataract. Maybe it's still there. Wait for me right here so nobody takes our picture spot. We never took that photo. It would have been our last one. Maybe it's better that way. What would I have done with it? Framed it and put it in my nightstand? Posted it online? Later that day, I lost my hat again. And we found it, not very far from where we found you. It was uncanny. 5 kilometers away from where we had been and under a heavy rock.
But every year, in this seemingly quiet and peaceful village by the river, a maiden had to be sacrificed to Mboy, the serpent parrot. For this sacrifice, the elders of the village invited other tribes. Some of these tribes came from far, far away. So this one year, the maiden they picked was called Naipi. She was beautiful. Mouth like the most exquisite coral, a heart made out of gold, a pair of eyes like azabaches. A young chief who had come from a neighboring tribe fell in love with her. But of course, Mboy didn't like this. He did not like it one bit. So, when Taroba decided to take Naipi down the river and go far away with her,
I'm the one who doesn't like this one bit. Decided to take Naipi down the river? Really? We talked about this. I mean, why not they both decided to go down the river together? Why perpetuate the worst parts of the myth?
because that's how the myth goes.
We don't know how the myth goes.
But that's how they tell it!
And who is they? Some idiot with a degree in tourism that repeats the legend printed in the brochure? And what do they base the brochure on? On the account of some random person after compiling the myths written down by the Jesuits after talking to the Guaraníes?
Guarani.
What?
The Guarani. You wouldn't pluralize the name of an indigenous tribe, the Cherokee, the Salish, the Iroquois. You wouldn't say the Cherokees, the Salishes.
Are you kidding me? And you cite the Iroquois. You're going to cite a group of people by their fucking colonial French name to tell me that I can't speak English. How do you want me to?
I didn't say you can't speak English. I love your English. I was just pointing out that you wouldn't say Guaraníes in English like you wouldn't say Araucanos.
Oh, but that's another bad example, Professor, because Araucano is the colonial name. Their name is Mapuche. Mapuches! Los Mapuches! And don't tell me you love my accent. I hate that.
Well, I said your English, not accent. But I love them both.
I can't stand When you...
You both are losing credibility.
What?
What?
You are losing credibility. You are arguing like modern college kids trying to outsmart each other, and subject yourself to purity tests.
Tell that to her. She won't let up.
What an affront to the professor. How dare you call him a college student? He's not even real!
It's all the same. But you are supposed to be playing Kenga, not Guarani, sorry.
What?
Living long time before the arrival of Columbus, and before they were displaced by the Guarani expansion. I know. You thought, but the legend being Kangan and not Guarani, it's not certain that the Jesuits were actually responsible for writing it down.
Does that make you Kangang then?
It's complicated, me being the god and all. According to the Guarani, I am one of the 7 masters engendered by the Tau and Kiran. But then according to the Kangan, you two were part of the people.
What does that make you?
Does it matter? Do gods belong to nations, or is it the other way around? The Kangan weren't as largely evangelized by the Jesuits as the Guarani were. In fact, first grammar of the Kangan language was written down by an Italian Capuchin monk, not by Jesuits.
Capuchin?
Franciscan, an offshoot.
Exactamente. But going back to your controversy, my Peter honey, I'm sorry, I have to side with Toroba on this one.
What do you mean?
I know the legend inside out, me being part of it. Never heard of anything but Toroba took Naipi in his canoe. Now, I'm not saying I'm opposed to changing it a bit.
Well, if you're going to get so strict, then we shouldn't even use the word canoe.
What do you mean?
Canoe is an Awarak word that was probably passed on to English from Spanish.
Awarak?
People from the Caribbean. We should say piroga instead. Isn't that what they would say in Portuguese?
Well, they say it because it was passed by the French, who got it from the Spanish, who got it from some tribes in the Caribbean island. Do you really think this matters?
I guess it doesn't matter what I think. You are the Indian here.
Nora?
It's kid.
Wouldn't you rather be called Nativo Americano, Native American? I mean, America is the whole continent.
No, pibe, acá somos todos indios. We are all Indian, kid. You have a good heart. But the Native Americans exist only in the US. I know the term goes back to some indigenous movements there and all, but it's all PC bullshit if you ask me. And the translation from English adds yet another layer of colonial oppression into the mix. We were enslaved as Indians, we were colonized as Indians, and we will retain our freedom as English. And then, and only then, we would choose to call ourselves whatever the fuck we want. You kids get so hung up on the terms that you lose sight of the history here. Excuse my French, but I become crude when things get to me.
That's cool. I like that.
Wow. Wow, a miracle. You two getting along.
Are we going to perform and perform or what? We are turning this into a polemic. Please, have a seat. And put your mask back on. So, what I'm concerned about is how we're going to be doing this. Does she want us to perform this part as it is being narrated?
Well, I wish I knew how she wants it. I think we can use your wings as a shield to hide us from the audience while we gently tip over and fall. Something like, first, they are paddling.
Well, right, because they were both paddling.
What the fuck is wrong with you today, Thomas?
Thomas? My name is Taroba.
So Taroba, who fell in love with Naipi and was later turned into a tree.
It was a stupid Disney movie that we watched before we came. They had the couple going down the river, and she was just sitting there like a princess while the guy paddled. They were running away from a freaking monster, and she was just sitting there, being scared and doing nothing. And she would just scream while the guy busted his ass paddling. It made no sense.
Hey, hold your jets. And don't call me a monster, Missy. He turned into a tree, and she turned into a rock.
He had strong paddling arms, but that was not enough. Not enough, not enough.
Not against the power of a boy. The snake who chased them down and broke down the Paraná in half. Broke down in half, broke down in half. So, Deus boy, o que governa do mundo das margens do rio Iguazu e Paraná. E mais pra lá. May the translator, please.
He says he's employed the god who rules over the riverbank.
No. Not he says. Go straight to first person. Pretend to be me. Embody me who embodies the spirit of the Iguazu.
Okay. I am Mboy, the god that rules over the riverbank and of the Iguazu and the Paraná and beyond.
Jovem Naipi foi consagrada para mim por causa da sua beleza, passando a viver somente para o culto.
The young Naipi was offered to me due to her beauty, consecrating her life solely to my devotion.
Porém, o jovem guerreiro chamado Tarubá fugiu com Naipi numa piroga que chegou rio abaixo.
However, a young warrior named Taroba ran away with Naipi in a canoe and went down the river.
Furioso, ingressei nas entranhas da terra e, retorcendo o corpo, produzi uma enorme fenda que formou uma catarata gigantesca.
Furious, I went into the earth's entrails, and, twisting my whole body, I created a crack that produced an immense waterfall.
Na piroga dos índios caiu, desaparecendo para sempre. Naipi foi transformado em uma roca e Tarubá convertido em árvore.
The canoe with the Indians fell and disappeared forever. Naipi was turned into a rock, and Taroba into a tree.
You are as handsome as always. You're starting to master other languages in my dreams, and yet I keep dreaming you in English. There's nothing about languages in all of the books on lucid dreaming I've looked at. But you are different from another time. We wear masks and feathers and we perform rites I don't understand. There's this old man who makes me think of my dad, but who is not my dad. We were always wearing masks, you and I, never fully understanding each other. You gave me that DVD before the trip. You got it at a garage sale. Can you even hear what I'm saying, wherever you are? I mean, when I'm not dreaming. Ugh. It was the cheapest Disney movie. We watched it before our trip. And then we learned more about the legend while we were at the falls. That movie was an unlikely find. We laughed a lot. But first, we fought, remember? Right before our trip to the falls, you came across a copy of that movie. We thought it was such a coincidence.
Hi, sweetie! You won't believe what I found! This movie is about the legend of the creation of the Iguazu Falls.
Iguazu? There's a legend about it? Of course there's a legend about it. I never knew. How come I never knew?
I suppose a natural wonder like that has to have a legend, but you've always been concerned with the science. I found it in that garage sale they were having around the corner.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
English audio, of course.
What did you expect?
Portuguese? You know how much I hate that kind of thing, like everybody in the world speaks English no matter where the story takes place? I bet they do that fake accent thing too, which makes people look like fools who can't even speak properly.
Well, it's Disney, and no one would watch the movie if they had to read the subtitles.
Right. Blame it on the consumer. Maybe they could try it and see. Maybe people would get used to it. It's laziness. I hate it, and you should hate it too.
It's not that I don't agree with you, but you don't have to get so worked up about it. I just thought we could, watch it together and enjoy it. And plus, they should have the characters speak whatever indigenous language they spoke there, right? Not Portuguese.
Well, this is a nice detail. They put the red rocks front and center. This is why I wanted to be a geologist.
Wouldn't they run out of rocks if every tourist that goes takes a souvenir?
Well, I got this during my field work.
At a ratio of 3,000 tourists a day, 2 on the low months, 5 or 6 at peak season, according to the Lonely Planet. Let's say 4,500 on an average day. That gives you 1.5 million per year. 1.5 million basalt rocks removed from the national park every year would make it so that in 10
You
years...
didn't hear what I was saying?
Yeah, that you were the hottest girl amongst a group of mostly scruffy, long-haired South American guys doing field work.
You don't listen.
Walking up and down the national park all hot and steamy.
You really don't listen. Is this how you treat your students, Professor?
I'm just teasing.
You always tease. But are you really listening to me? I mean, this is important stuff.
Sweetie, I was just kidding. You're upset now?
Now, it's my fault that I'm upset. You didn't used to be this way. You've changed.
Are you picking a fight? Is this about the language of the movie? Because I'm not pure enough to think they should have the characters speak whatever language nobody would understand?
Now you're really up to lunch.
Out.
What?
Out to lunch.
When you get like this, you diminish what I do.
Because I correct your idioms?
I dedicated my life to studying rocks. I wanted to be a geologist ever since my dad took me to the Iguazu Falls when I was 6 and I saw the abyss of the Devil's Throat. I was fascinated and scared. I dreamt that the devil wanted to eat me with bread and butter, and I wanted to know how that abyss happened. I never saw my dad again after the trip, so that place came to represent him. My memory of him has been linked to these waterfalls ever since.
Norita, vas a ver algo como nunca jamás viste en tu vida.
Norita?
He was the only one who called me that. My mom never did. She just called me Nora. Or Nora Elena if she was mad. But my dad gets all the credit just for a name. For calling me Norita and taking me to the Devil's Throat. He was MIA, but he took me to the falls. Then when I had already moved to this country and left so many things behind, that's when I realized how much I missed him. I wasn't mad at him anymore. I was ready to forgive him. I am ready if he ever shows up.
Do you remember the first time you told me about him?
I remember.
We had just met not long before.
We were walking down the path with whatever was left of the cherry blossoms, and you asked me.
What are your parents like?
You didn't ask me about both.
I did. I remember.
I have a different recollection.
Okay, so let's do one at a time. What is your dad like?
I wish I had someone to ask. I know he likes nature. He used to work for the National Park Service before he got in trouble.
What happened?
I can't tell for sure. All I know is based on vague memories. It must have been right after the trip to the falls, so I was 6 or 7. My mom and dad were having a huge argument. They said something about hiding him. Something bad had happened, but I don't know what it was. They were arguing about whether or not he should hide. I remember thinking about hide and seek, and then he left. My mom told me he had gone on a trip, and after a while she said that he had abandoned us, but she said it without regret or bitterness, so I never believed her. Something else had happened, a bad thing.
Do you think he'll ever come back?
I don't know. But that wasn't my point. You get me all worked up, and then you ask me difficult questions about my past. I did my field work for my thesis at the Falls. That's what landed me in a graduate program and led to my current job. And you tease me about these scruffy-looking South American guys because you saw some group photo and you have a vivid imagination. Yes, you're diminishing what I do. What if I did the same when you talked about your love of trees?
Norita, is it okay if I say it? Norita, I am sorry.
That elevator is driving me crazy. I want to move somewhere else.
You do? Let's move together, somewhere nice. You'll never leave me, will you?
An ocean plunging into an abyss. That's her. She's always been that way. Now and way back. She was the force of the great waters, Iguazu. Oh, the day they met, 5 de abril de 2015. Hoy conocí a un profesor del departamento de botánica. No habla ni una palabra de español. Es lindo. But better not try to translate this into English word by word. You can't translate the language of love. She used to write her journal entries in Spanish, up until they went south on that trip, and all went south. Then she started addressing everything she wrote solely to him, and she switched into English.
Like an
an
homage and a penance.
She's talking about the time they first met. One April 2 years ago. The buildings on campus were close to each other, separated by a path of cherry trees. And there was a sunbreak in the midst of long drizzle that they both left their offices to get some fresh air. She bumped into him walking down the path with the cherry blossoms and dropped her books. She proceeded to say that he's a young professor from the botany department, that he studies Parley botany, and that she thinks he's cute. Blah, blah, blah. Speaking of things going south, an entry from this year about the engagement. April 5th. Thomas me propuso matrimonio. No me lo esperaba para nada. Estábamos en mitad del paseo y de repente saca una cajita de terciopelo dorado y así nomás, como en las películas, se arrodilla y me regala un anillo de azabache. This must be the last day she wrote in Spanish. They were going to take a selfie of that woman, but then she realized she had left her hat in another waterfall, so she had to go and grab it. She goes on to explain that when she came back,
¡Que los parió! ¡Bichos con ínfulas! ¡Fuera! ¡Shoo! ¡Oh! Found it! We had to fight a gang of coatis that were taking it away. They are like raccoons with huge egos. They are nothing but a bunch of omnivorous thieves. They have freaking canine teeth. Did you notice?
Good.
What's wrong? Let's take that photo.
Your phone ran out of juice.
That's odd. It had 50% before.
Come on, let's go. We'll take one later.
that night, Thomas left the hotel and told Nora not to bother looking for him in the town. He said he wanted to be alone, and maybe even to get drunk. Nora waited a few hours until she decided to go find him, and she wrote that in her journal. then cheater. 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 Fucking cheater. That's the last thing she wrote in her journal. Then there is nothing for weeks. Until she started to write again. And her life turned into blank pages.
Now, on the topic of the Devil's Throat, from the Encyclopedia Britannica, the falls occur along a wide span where the Iguazu River, flowing westward and then northward, tumbles over the edge of the Paraná Plateau before continuing its course into a canyon. Above the falls, islands and islets spread the river into numerous flows that feed the cataracts. A major portion of the river tumbles into the narrow, semicircular chasm called the Devil's Throat.
Garganta del Diablo.
Garganta del Diablo.
The effect has been described as that of an ocean plunging into an abyss. Excellent views of this section,
Also called Union Falls.
can be obtained on both the Brazilian and Argentine sides. Many of the individual falls are broken midway by protruding ledges. The resultant deflection of the water, as well as the spray that arises, creates an array of rainbows. From the foot of the Devil's Throat, a curtain of mist rises some 500 feet
150 meters.
into the air.
Let the second act begin.
And keep watching out for those coatis, especially if you're carrying food. Yes, we fought a lot. But we always came back together and stronger. I loved that about us. Why not that last time? Why did you not talk to me before thinking the worst?
Norita,
Papá,
¿sabes dónde estoy?
no me digas. Estás en la garganta del diablo.
¿Y sabes lo que estoy viendo?
¿Es de día o de noche? Pierdo la cuenta.
Norita, no podés seguir así. Mira por la ventana.
Es de día. Allá también entonces.
Sí, hay un arcoíris doble.
No, qué hermoso. Me tocará ver uno cuando esté allá.
Seguro, siempre es cuestión de tener paciencia. Nos vemos pronto, ¿eh?
Sí.
¿Leíste el libro que te mandé?
No, gracias. Todavía no lo he leído.
Bueno, ya a esta altura lo leerás a la vuelta.
Sí, sí. Chao, papá. Un beso.
Besito, Norita.
Quiet down so she doesn't wake up. Don't you think it's crazy that she keeps dreaming us?
Dreams are crazy.
I feel bad for her. She won't let go.
What do you think she needs more?
To
see us play?
Or to talk to the dead.
We are so mean. Ah.
Her dad just called.
From right here?
We're only a couple of days away from her trip. She's so out of it these days. She didn't even know if it was daytime or nighttime when she picked up the phone. She had to go to the window and check.
Yes, she seems quite depressed.
How do you know?
Don't we know everything? She has to move on.
It's hard.
Isn't that the whole point of the trip?
Yes, but she's conflicted. She knows once she says that final goodbye, she may never be able to see Thomas in her dreams again. Her dad also told her He was looking at the double rainbow.
That must have gotten her excited.
It did. A quarter of a smile is a lot for her nowadays. He told her they may luck out and get a double rainbow when she's here, if she's patient.
Ask someone in grief to be patient?
You speak from experience.
Oh, of course. Those first days after we were separated, it was like living in hell until I knew that the rainbow could bring us back together, at least momentarily.
Living hell is what he created for us, the devil's throat.
Blame it on the monkeys!
The monkeys?
Os malucos, los manos.
Ah, those.
They got Boy drunk. And the nice, innocent parrot, who used to live in a land without evil, spoke too much and brought evil upon himself and everyone else.
He couldn't fly anymore. His wings atrophied and gave way to scales. You're right. It is the monkey's fault. Or there would be no mean and boy falling in love with me if it weren't for them.
There would have been no fault on the ground if it wasn't for them.
Yeah. Drinking too much can lead to disaster. But then centuries came and went and we wore each other out. We all became friends.
Oh, I am not Boy's friend.
Well, let's just say we at least get along. It's a vast improvement from living in hell. And living hell is what it was like for her those first few weeks after she left the falls and flew back. Until she started manipulating her dreams.
But she makes it so hard on herself. Not only does she have to hope that one of us will show up in her dreams, but she also has to wait for a rainbow? And now she expects a double rainbow too.
She has to rely on Light's ability to bounce twice inside a raindrop. She wanted all four of us here at the same time, so she thought of the double rainbow as a pretty metaphor. But I don't even think she's realized what the implications of this artifice of hers are. Like the reverse image of one rainbow bed duplicated in the other. The fact that they are a mirror of one another, and yet the second is a faint double of the first. The fact that there's so much darkness between the two. Or that neither could exist without an eye watching them.
She is a bit of an odd duck.
Says he, the man who turned into a tree.
One rainbow for Naipi's rock to come to life.
And Taroba's tree to wake up.
Another rainbow
band
to bring
Nora's and
Thomas's love back to life. She'll always be at the center of it.
We are always at the center of the rainbow, no matter what.
At least she may find closure after all.
Do you really believe that part?
What part?
The closure part.
Of course not. That's stuff people say. Her people.
Yeah, her people are weird. They don't understand that all present is a perpetual repetition of the past.
And thus the past is an eternal present.
And the future
Can be predicted. Yeah. Her people are weird.
Look at us, on the other hand. We are so normal. Her dad also asked her if she read that book he sent her, but she said she hasn't read it yet. She's been too busy reading about lucid dreams and writing and experimenting. Oh, shit. Oh, no.
These damn clouds. It's getting chilly.
We should have parts.
Bye, sweetie. Until the rainbow reunites us.
I don't want to wake up! Not when we can be like that. I loved it when you called me sweetie. How sweet is that word? But is it sweet to English speakers? To natives? It is so sweet to my ear. But is sweetie really sweet to English ears? Who am I going to ask that to now? You were my bridge to English. But you know I'm leaving in a couple days. can't even look under my bed. My dad says he'll do it and not let me see the box until we're ready. He's coming to get me because these days I can't even get on a plane by myself. I wish I could ask you if that box that we saw on the first day at the Devil's Throat is what gave you the idea. I keep trying to ask you in my dreams, but I can't plan exactly what's going to happen. All these books about lucid dreaming haven't gotten me that far. He's coming tomorrow and we're leaving the next day. I wish you two had met. I wish... But why not? I haven't read that much about this because I focused on dead people, but I don't see why not. Commonalities. Commonalities can work as anchors for the living or the dead. Let's see. I don't know that much about him, but I know he's into trees, as you are. Maybe we ran into him on the first day at the park. I mean, it's huge, and there's thousands of people, but did I tell you he works at the park? He used to when I was little, and then that shit went down, and now that he's got his life back, he works there again. Trees. Focus on trees and imagine that we bump into him. Bring them both in.
The legend of the creation of the falls says that once upon a time this was just a quiet river, peaceful and calm. And men could fish off the river banks, and the women washed their clothes with the babies strapped on their backs. And it was so calm that if a kid got loose and dropped into the water, it was an easy recovery. And birds could just hover over without being sucked into it forever. Until one day, everything changed. Every year, the elders of the village had the bad habit of sacrificing virgin to their god, Boy, who was a serpent parrot creature. Yet, yes, not a great representation of the local trait, but you know, it's just a legend. So, this particular year, the lucky winner was a young woman named Naipi. Her dad had told her to be careful and not look down the water. But Naipi was young and willful and did exactly what she was asked not to do. Of course, it could have helped if her dad had told her why she was not supposed to look down at the water. But again, it's a legend, and if the dad had the good sense to inform her, you know, why she wasn't supposed to look down, then we would have no legend to explain the origin of this natural wonder. So, why Naipi was not supposed to look down at the water, you ask? Because in Boy, the serpent parrot god lived inside the water and could see her and fall in love with her. So of course, when Naipi decided to disobey the paternal advice and look down at the water intently, the ugly monster fell in love with her. However, there was a young buck named Taroba who was also in love with Naipi and decided he was not going to get Naipi be cannon fodder of these crazy elders. So he decided to run away with her, and off went the two lovers. The legend doesn't specify the details, but we should assume that either Taroba's love was reciprocated by Naipi, or that Naipi was not Nami, and she knew that she was better off running with the young buck than giving herself away to a scary, creepy underwater parrot. But when Boy found out that Taroba was taking Naipi away, he got furious in a very creepy, scaly underwater parrot kind of way, and cracked the earth in half. And he watched the lovers' canoe fall down and fall down and fall down the water because, yes, you guessed, the river had now been turned into a waterfall. And so the legend says, Taroba was turned into a tree, and IP was turned into a rock. Each on either side of the devil's throat. And the devil, we can assume, is some sort of Christianized version of a boy. And only when the rainbow comes out and joins either side of the abyss can the lovers reunite. And that's the legend of the creation of the Iguazu Falls.
Y Taroba. Y Thomas. ¿Dónde está? Papá. 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 I dreamt clearly about my dad. I've been dreaming some form of him in these last few weeks, and all of my attempts to bring you back. Some incarnation of him was always there, but this time, it was his true self, in his ranger of the national park form. I tried talking to him, but he didn't recognize me. It was like being 6 again and being abandoned by him.
But he didn't abandon you, remember?
I remember.
We just met recently when you told me.
We were walking down the path with whatever was left of the cherry blossoms, and you asked me,
What is your dad like?
my mom. First, you asked me about my mom, and I said she was dead. And then I told you how I remember her, with her long chestnut hair and always carrying one of those white and brown hippie bags across her body, the really strong ones made out of plant fibers that last forever, but they scratch all your clothes. All of her clothes had a patch of rubbed fabric on one side. She carried books and photocopies because she was always studying something. She took me to school with her when her classes were at night.
What did she study?
Philosophy, linguistics, I don't know. I just remember the classrooms full of cigarette smoke. The professor chain smoking and talking, the students smoking and taking notes. My mom too.
Yikes. And you were what, 8?
6, 7, 8. She was always studying something as I was growing up.
And she had a job too?
I don't think she had to work that much.
Your dad left money.
No, her family was loaded. And then one day, we had to rush to the hospital because she got really sick, and in a few weeks she was gone. My dad's family took me until I was old enough to get the hell away. But we aren't talking about those sad things now. I was telling you about my dream. I tried talking to my dad. Maybe I asked him where you were, but he pretended not to recognize me. It was an anxiety dream about being abandoned by him, even if he didn't actually purposefully abandon me.
It can't be easy to lose your parents so young.
Did you know the same day your body finally showed up downstream, my dad told me all about my childhood?
Including why he disappeared?
Even that. He was in jail. He spent most of my life in jail.
What did he do? Why did they hide it from you?
He killed someone.
Oh. No wonder they didn't tell you.
It wasn't just someone, it was my mom's cousin, who was trying to take away the tribal lands my dad was fighting for. It was a day of peaceful protests. They had their Opiwa, their religious leader, do a ceremony to ask their gods and spiritual guides for strength in their fight. They've been struggling for centuries. They put a national flag at the center of the crowd to signal their status as citizens of the country. But my mom's cousin, I guess he would be my uncle, he hired armed guys to set their homes on fire.
He was from the part of your mom's family that was loaded?
Right. They threw them all into trucks, women and children, and they lit the village. The men of the village tried to stop them, but they got beat up and thrown into the trucks too. Some of them were chased down to the river. People from the village and others who were there in support. One of the demonstrators couldn't swim and they cornered him until they drowned him. My uncle was inside one of the vehicles, cowardly, watching it all happen. My dad managed to get away and threw a heavy rock at him, hitting him in the head. The next day, the cops came to get him. They sentenced him for life, even though it was involuntary manslaughter. He became a political prisoner. With good conduct, he ended up doing 25 years. It took him a while to find me after he got out.
And your mom?
She decided not to tell me why he left. She would rather I would think he had abandoned us than tell me the truth. I guess she was planning to tell me when I was older.
They must have both decided it was best for you not to know.
She spent the last years of her life fighting to get him out of prison. I never knew where she went, but she was always going somewhere. She was traveling to visit my dad.
I must go now. Aren't you leaving tomorrow? You better start packing soon.
Hola, papá.
¿Qué, señorita?
La caja está debajo de la cama.
Hay un sombrero blanco acá. ¿Lo necesitas?
No, gracias. ¿No me he oído nada? La mochila.
That was good.
Oh, that wasn't bad at all.
I like it like that, no narration. And the music covered up some of the white noise.
Oh, and that light action, man. They must have turned on the lights in the cabin. Do you think they're almost here?
They're getting close. We should work on that Thomas Nora scene that we've been neglecting.
It's no wonder we have. You're starting to understand more, aren't you?
From the selfie part. Do you have your cell phone?
Here. Hey, wait a minute. You two haven't met.
Oh, that's right. Mucho gusto.
Mucho gusto, too. And
Set. Go.
selfie, selfie.
Wait, where's my hat? I borrow yours, Dad?
Sure. Done.
Selfie!
Wait, shit! Where's my hat? I must have left it in the other cataract. Maybe it's still there. Wait for me right here so nobody takes our picture spot.
Wait, how are people going to understand the content of the message?
The way you are acting.
Oh.
Flat, despondent, shocked. A message comes through that you don't like, so you delete it, and then you turn off the phone, and then you lie. You tell me it ran out of juice.
Okay, maybe the fact that we see your dad write a message helps understand that he's the one sending it, but still, how are we going to explain that I see a message from your dad, and I take it to be an insinuating note from your secret lover? I mean, how do you explain such stupidity?
Yes. At some point, we're going to have to explain the whole thing. That you thought I was cheating on you. That you left me alone in the hotel for hours, waiting for you.
That my Spanish wasn't limited enough to just overlook the loving words, but was limited enough to misinterpret them. That I went and got wasted. That you were furious when you found the deleted text and realized that what got me so worked up was a message from your dad, who was looking for you so you both could finally meet again after a lifetime.
I will always love you.
That I went and had sex with a random woman I met at a bar.
And be mad at you.
And then you found me and told me to never come close to you again.
Amor, I should have told you that part of the goal of this trip was to see my dad.
But I was so desperate that
I should have, but I was afraid to break the spell. I was afraid he wouldn't show up once we got here.
That I was such a coward that I...
And that's why we've been avoiding this scene. Su atención, por favor. Estamos por aterrizar en el aeropuerto internacional de Cataratas del Iguazú. Ya iniciamos el descenso. Favor de abrocharse los cinturones de seguridad. And have your attention, please. We are approaching Cataratas del Iguazú International Airport. We have begun our descent. Please fasten your seatbelts.
This is the epilogue.
In which Nora will no longer dream us.
So now that she created us,
We will never cease to exist.
Jacoleta!
this literally means, what else do you want? Ba ipa hipotabe.
Right? What better proof could you ask for? She can't speak Guarani.
Upe charo nyane sason.
That means we are free.
Hey.
That means see. Yes.
So this is the epilogue.
In which Nora will no longer dream us.
Engolieko kanyeroshi nakimo.
In Kangan now too? That's impressive.
In which we'll all be a little wiser.
See?
See?
A little lonelier too.
But as long as there's sunlight, as long as there's water,
My skills will never go dry.
We won't have to worry about waking her up.
as long as there's someone watching.
There will always be a rainbow.
Kararu rapa. Not always, Often.
Often enough.
Manahu Rapa. Rainbow.
Do you guys remember that whole argument they had about the legend?
If it was originally Kangang or Guarani.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
You could have told them, but instead you went along with it.
I was having fun, and I needed them to fight.
She did. It was her dream. She was so angry.
She had a reason to be. If only she had read that book her dad sent her. It's all explained here, in the state of Paraná.
Where the Brazilian side of the Iguazu Falls are located.
A movement called Paranismo developed in the early 20th century. This movement attempted to create an identity for a territory whose geographical limits weren't known.
To the Europeans who conquered the territory.
As part of this effort, this Paranist movement made up legends, indigenous legends. And the legend of the Iguazu Falls is one of them. There isn't even one line, not one line, of indigenous oral tradition in the fabrication of this particular legend. That's how the nation hoped to establish a historical continuity with the peoples that they were
still in the process of displacing and massacring.
What if I told you that I too had a dream?
What kind of a dream?